Developer Digital Eclipse has spent the better part of the past decade refining the retro video game collection across Capcom classics such as Mega Man and Street Fighter, and SNK gems such as Samurai Showdown and Crystalis. Their work with Capcom also led to the modern revival of Disney licensed games including DuckTales and Aladdin, offering an enticing view into a world where Digital Eclipse was allowed to crack into more vaults to bring back and memorialize the licensed works of the 80s and 90s. That world might be getting realized as Digital Eclipse worked with Konami and Nickelodeon on one of the best retro compilations I have ever seen in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' Cowabunga Collection, featuring 13 games across the NES, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Game Boy, and arcades. The emulation is great, the features are numerous, and the explanation and accessibility of old games is among the best I've seen from one of these packages. Some of these games might have shown their age overall, but you'll likely never find a better playing version of any of them. Before diving into the specifics of the robust lineup, the overall package itself is fantastic, albeit maybe a little disorienting at first. After all, there are 3 separate ways to enter into a menu to select a game. First, there's just the full list of games, featuring all 13 and, where available, their Japanese counterparts. That's how you play the games on your Switch in normal circumstances. 2 other menus are also available for online play and multi-system local play, featuring 4 games, the 2 arcade beat-em-ups, the Genesis exclusive Hyperstone Heist, and the Super Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters. Would it be cool if every game with multiplayer had online play? Sure, but the selection available for online play hits the right notes, including 3 beat-em-ups, 2 that support 4 players, and the best version of the fighting game. Every game has fully remappable buttons, as well as varying lists of enhancements. All of the beat-em-ups have some sort of level select, unlimited lives, or easy mode, making even the toughest areas and boss fights beatable for virtually everyone. The enhancements don't make the challenging gameplay of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on NES any easier, but Rewind, available for all the games, helps to ward off the mountains of pitfalls peppered throughout that intriguingly busted adventure. My favorite enhancement is one for the 3rd Game Boy game, subtitled Radical Rescue, which changes the dotted map icons to more specific location types in a way that feels like it could have been part of the game 20 years ago. The numerous options make all of these 13 games the best playing they've ever been, at least outside of the arcade games being in their element in the lobby of a Pizza Hut. Like past Digital Eclipse collections, you also have the ability to watch the games being played to completion while being able to hop in and take over at any point. In addition to games, this collection also includes a lot of collectible ephemera. You can gaze upon box arts from different regions, different advertisements, and a wealth of design documents. The amount of content is vast and seemingly all-encompassing, though most of it is static. That's likely not through the fault of Digital Eclipse, and more just the reality of putting together a collection of Japanese video games from decades ago. The design documents are fascinating to flip through, even if they're in Japanese. Of all the cool ads and box art shown, the most helpful part of the extra content are the strategy guides. Accessible via every in-game pause menu, these brand new guides offer neat and tidy explanations of each game's eccentricities in a very playful manner. Moves are detailed, secrets are teased, and in the case of Metroidvania Game Boy game Radical Rescue, a detailed game map is included in the guide. 13 games are included, but these 13 games are not all created equal. Some of them are more bad than good, but the fact that all of these games are included are great because you can see the full slate of Turtles games from the era. Should you spend much time with Tournament Fighters on NES? Absolutely not, but it's neat to see the differences between the comically late-gen 1994 NES release and the Super Nintendo and Genesis releases. There's a reason why the Super Nintendo version of Tournament Fighters is the one playable online, but the Genesis version is an acceptable adaptation, and the NES version is a hell of a curio, especially if you try to use the enhancement to have 2 hot heads fight against each other at the same time. Beat-em-ups make up the majority of the lineup, with the original arcade and its NES counterpart, the NES-exclusive Manhattan Project, and the 3 versions of Turtles of Time on the arcade, Super Nintendo, and Genesis's Hyperstone Heist. I know that technically Hyperstone Heist isn't Turtles in Time, and it's kinda like a remixed version of it. Regardless, while the older beat-em-ups show their age more than I expected, the latter ones are still a lot of fun, even if the 2022 release of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge is the idealized version of those 90s games. Your nostalgic mileage may vary for these games. The Super Nintendo version of Turtles of Time was a game I replayed a lot over the years, whereas I've only ever played Manhattan Project and Hyperstone Heist sporadically over the past 30 years. A game I didn't expect to enjoy a ton in Cowabunga Collection was the first NES Turtles game, renowned for its electrifying seafood and punishing difficulty. The addition of Rewind is game-changing for me, letting me appreciate the ambition of this borderline unfair and unbalanced 80s action game. This is still laced with enemies that respawn at the slightest movement of a screen, but now you can have a powerful sub-weapon with the Rewind. The hidden gem of this collection is assuredly Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Radical Rescue, the ambitious and solidly made Metroidvania Game Boy game. You start off as Michelangelo and have to navigate a maze of rooms to fight bosses, find items, and rescue your brothers. A decent in-game map is baked into the game, but the collection's enhancements and strategy guide offer even more detail. Radical Rescue is something I first experienced here, but this also seems like a game that wasn't that unkind in its original form. It just made a little bit better with quality of life here. 2 other Game Boy games round out the collection, and they're some of the weaker inclusions. Not that they're completely terrible, but they are emblematic of the era with chunky sprites and clunky controls. The most fascinating aspect of the first 2 Game Boy games is how they build up to the quality of Radical Rescue. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection is one of the best retro packages I've ever played, providing a nearly definitive encapsulation of the Turtles games of the era while also presenting them in the best way possible. You can play them roughly as they were when they came out, or make use of the enhancements and rewind functionality to get through hard spots. Or maybe you just want to watch a playthrough of Hyperstone Heist just because. Cowabunga Collection presents so many ways to experience the Turtles games of the 80s and 90s, making it enjoyable for anyone who has even a fleeting interest in the Turtles or their video game exploits. This is truly radical.
This video was made possible by our generous supporters on Patreon. Did you know that Nintendo World Report is funded directly by fans like you? When you support Nintendo World Report on Patreon, you get immediate access to multiple exclusive podcasts every month, exclusive Discord channels, an early look at select content, and more, all for as little as $1 a month. Check out patreon.com/NWR for all the details.